this learning thing. Um, right now, it doesn't appear that we're in that area, though our cases are like everybody else's cases. They are going up somewhat. Still not an increase as far as hospitalizations or deaths, thank goodness. But cases are still going up. So once we get that from the Department of Health, that will kind of let us know. What I have for you now is kind of what we're starting with, low and no spread, and that's having traditional school with all the things that they're recommending. You know, improving the cleanliness of your schools, practicing social distancing where practical, and all the things that we'll be doing are, practical to have school. So we'll cut down on gatherings that we don't have to have. Field trips, for example, they'll be scrutinized to the nth degree. We're not going to send a bus load of students to a hot spot for a field trip. And we'll do the best we can. We've already ordered plenty of masks and sanitizer. Those things will be right now recommended. But we'll have a plan that if we start having, we're working on a matrix now to decide, how many cases in our system warrants shutting down a grade, shutting down a class, shutting down school, shutting down 2 schools, shutting down the system. You kind of got to have a plan for that. So we'll probably spend the first couple of weeks of school really kind of planning what we would do if we do have an outbreak and have to go back to distance learning, as far as improving our dissemination of devices, trying to get connectivity where we can. We'll also have a self-check-in. We're working on that too with our employees. Again, all this has got to be practical. You have 800 employees. We just don't have the capacity for everybody to come by and have one person checking them. But we will have, we'll educate them to how they will check in and answer the questions, whether they don't feel good, whether you need to go home if you don't feel good. If you're running a fever, if you've been exposed to somebody with COVID-19, or if you've been around, or you've been traveling, all those questions that are asked, and puts them at risk. And if they answer yes to them, we're going to tell them you need to go home for the day, or do not clock in. We're going to tie it to clock it in every day, because that'll be they're attesting to, I feel fine, I'm not ill in any way, I've not been around anybody with COVID-19, and I'm haven't been traveling outside or been to a hot spot or so on and so forth. So those are some of the things we're trying to put in place. Social distancing on a bus, well, that's just not going to happen. It's just not possible to have social distancing on a bus and transport the number of students that we transport and have any kind of traditional school. So we'll have masks and sanitizer on the buses for available. I will coach kids up to get a little sanitizer as they get on the bus, and then we'll do deep cleanings of the bus after every route, in the morning and the afternoon. Rolling down, that's just an example. Rolling down the windows and driving the bus down the road a couple miles before you carry it back with the windows down after everybody's off at the end of the route. That's recommended to cut down on some of the germs. So. And this will continue as we get more information. It's June 23rd. We don't go back to school till August 10th, and so we'll look for some more changes. Depends on what the governor's doing. If the governor goes in the opposite direction, start ratcheting things back down, then we'll have to maybe make some choices. The whole thing is we're going to have to be ready to have a distance learning plan for groups of students really from day one. And those groups may grow. It may end up being a school. It may end up being a grade. It just depends on the details as far as when you get a case and how many cases do you have. We won't be able to, if you get a case in your system, you can't shut down the whole system for 14 days. You'll never end up opening up. That's not practical if you're going to try to have school. Pediatric information we're getting, ages 3 to 18. That's not the area that's attacking now. They are certainly the spreaders of the disease. That's what we're seeing now. really nationwide is the 20s and 30s, or those are the ones that are on the increase as far as getting cases. So if they're around older folks, they are certainly susceptible to spreading. Questions about a certain area?
Yeah, if the CDC recommends face masks, is that something we would want to consider as a school system requiring disposable masks?
I don't, I don't know how many kindergarten classrooms you've been in or out there on the playground, that sort of thing. I don't think that's going to be practical to try to spend the time making a 5-year-old keep a mask on all day. Now, we're certainly going to make them available. We're going to have plenty, but requiring them, I think you open yourself up. But that was the other part I left out about there's a legal angle to everything that we're doing, and our legal folks are guiding us. Don't be too specific in what you're putting in your plans down on paper, because once you put it in policy or in your procedures, it becomes what they call a ministerial duty. And if you don't do it, okay, now you're liable. Okay, we're going to do the best we can in what we're doing to have school. We have a responsibility to educate kids and care for the overall health of the overall child and education of the child. That weighs into it, the nutrition of the child. Some kids just don't get the care at home that they get while they're in school. That's a fact. That's a documented fact. So we need to get them in school, but we're going to be as safe as we can. And there's not 100% prevention, cure, or treatment for COVID-19. That hasn't changed. So.
I'm still a little concerned. Why is it not feasible to try to come up with something to orchestrate to be able to take the temperatures of our students prior to them entering the building, especially with the devices that they have and the technology of the devices that they have now? It takes a matter of literally a second for those devices to register. And I know you can't have just one person, but yeah, we're up to 48 cases. Is it still 48 today? We're up to 48 cases. We're having a spike here. 2 weeks ago, we were what? 30? Yeah. Like 20, yeah, 21, 22, 23. Not to say that's what's going to be in August or anything, but I just think that if you can keep that a child from going in who's running the temperature before they get into the building, you limit the number of people that child comes in contact and possibly infected. And that's the same thing with the teachers. You have a person sitting at the front desk, they may can just, come up to that desk and check the gun to check the temperature. That's not to say that that's a perfect method as far as preventing it, but we do know that that is one of the symptoms. So, that's just something I would like to see, and I've heard, other people who have expressed that same concern, about checking temperatures.
We can certainly look at it. We've talked about it, and we just don't think it's manageable, to funnel,
750 kids don't report to school exactly at the same time.
What?
750 don't report to school exactly at the same time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just logistically you just have to think about it.
The logistics is what we've not figured out.
Right.
We talked about it.
Right.
We talked about ordering thermometers, but they're, the temperature thing, that's, what you're doing and what you're getting. Is that money well spent there, or would you rather spend it somewhere else? You get into the money thing too. Is it manageable? How much time are we going to take to get it done? So,
I certainly agree with that concern, Coach Daniels. I think, just sitting here thinking how many parents actually send their kids to school when they know they are sick.
Mm-hmm.
That's what our message needs to be to this community is, you know your kid is sick, keep your kid home.
You're going to send them anyway.
Because that's what we're fighting. Everybody's been well educated on COVID. It's on every TV channel. It's on the news, it's on social media.
Mhm.
But we're still gonna have to fight that battle. Because people are just gonna think that they're just tired of having their kids.
I agree.
And I feel like it's well money spent. Anytime that we can do something that to potentially not only protect our students, but protect our employees and our teachers, I think it's money well spent.
Oh, I agree with that. I agree with that. I just struggling with the, you know, 1,700 people.
Mhm.
We're taking 1,700 temperatures in the morning at high school. I just don't know what that looks like. I mean, where are they lining up to? And I know they don't all get there at one time, but you do have 175 getting off the bus at one time. We're trying to work on as soon as they get in the buildings, even the breakfast folks, the elementary especially, spread them out immediately where they're not all piled up. So
When you think about it, how many people we have come to a football game? You got to take up a ticket at every football game, right?
Right.
You can figure it out.
yeah, but you're also not limited in the finite amount of time that you're having instruction in a football game. I mean, the gates open at 6 and we're out there at 10 o'clock. And, you know, we're trying to get people engaged and get in school and get engaged in some learning, not lined up just to check temperature. So I mean, that's what you got to weigh out. But we'll study it and see if we can pull it off. I just hate to take the first hour and a half of school every day before we get going. Because they still got to eat,
Mhm.
still got to get them in the classroom and get them going, and all the things it takes in the morning.
I think it's worth us looking into it, but we also, I know a lot of places are talking about isolation areas, designated isolation areas in the school building. So is that a part of our planning?
Yes, we have those already. Everywhere it says James E. Bacon, and we're working up that plan for that school. The bigger plan, the bigger problem to try to come up with solutions is we have sick kids every year, obviously, all year long. And what happens is we can't find parents to come get them if they're sick. I'm just telling you. That's a problem, it's a major problem. So they got temperature,
Mhm.
and we can't get anybody to come get them. Can't find anybody. I'm telling you, it's a problem. Before, they might have hung around with the nurse who kind of kept them secluded for a while. So you get 2 or 3 of them up there. I don't know how safe that is in this situation. So we're trying to, we're going to do everything we can to update contact information and let them know. But that's one of the bigger concerns with the nurses is getting kids back home when they do come to school sick. So that's happens on the regular.
Dr. Do you think at our work session,
Mhm.
I know we haven't gotten this ready to be released, but at least really start having some of the team present to us so that we can start disseminating some information out to the public. Because I know we can't finalize that until it's all done.
Yeah, I don't recommend putting it out there and then it's out there and then it changes.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's always causes problems when you put information out there and it's wrong and it's changed and then you have to reel it back in. Well, that's the old one. This is what we're doing in August. That was June. You know what I'm saying?
Right, but I'm just talking about to have some of those conversations so people can have an idea of what's going on.
Not a problem. I'll line them up next week.
What's the target date for this week?
August 10th.
Dr. Brinson, I tried to look over this afternoon. It does specify a lot of isolated areas. The open house, is this doing it virtually?
That's what we're kicking around. Again, it's all about trying to cut down the opportunities for exposure. So is open house really worth, because you know how well attended those are, but what we found is it's well attended because everybody wants to know where my child's going the first day, what the schedules are, who the teacher is, give me the information I need, about buses, lunches, all the things they need to know. And so if we can disseminate that information virtually, we've talked about maybe doing both, doing it virtually, getting all the information out, and then if you still want to come, we spread it out you limit, then you only have so many days, but, you know, maybe take a grade level or two or that sort of thing, and then tell them to come from whatever, 4 to 5. You only got one grade level because you get them in and out. We're still finalizing that to see.
Must put a lot of time into this.
Mhm.
There was a lot of folks working on it, so we're not finished. And basically, so to kind of let you know what the way it will continue to develop is, you know, the information you have in here is like the green, the low and no spread. And so the minimal or the moderate spread, the medium tier, the yellow is what I'm calling it. What we will do is just add in some more steps to what we already have in place. We'll add some more in, you know, low and no spread. Now we're going to leave the water fountains open, but if we start picking up more cases, we get that moderate level. We feel like some moderate level, then we might have to shut the water fountains down. That's just an example. Shut the water fountains down, buy water, encourage everybody to bring their own water bottles, have water bottles, water everywhere, and everybody gets a bottle. Try to keep it full for you during the day, so on and so forth. Lunches and breakfast, you know, we're writing this plan here where the administrators at each school's flow of traffic into a building, traffic to lunch and PE and around the building is a little bit different at every school. Smaller schools can handle a little bit different, but they're all going to be told to add in extra lunch if you can, you know. We're not worried about protecting somebody's, you know, nice, neat schedule of time during the day. It may be that we need to have another lunch to bust them up, or it may be only our pre-K, kindergarten, and first grade are going to have breakfast in the cafeteria. Everybody else, the bigger kids, feel like they may be able to go to the line and go into their room. That way, they never keep moving. They go to their room, and now we got a smaller room in the classroom. We're able to spread the younger ones out. The younger ones, you know, they barely can hold the tray. I don't know if they can take something all the way down the hall and make it without, you know, dropping it and having to mess. And that's things that we're really trying to think through. Same thing with moving around the building. Same thing with dismissals. You know, not all right. Everybody goes and everybody's piled up there at the front door, but being methodical in what we're doing. You know, even at the high school, you know, they be cutting the day short of 5 minutes or so and dismissing this large group, and then dismissing, you know, the first wave of buses. You know, instead of going out and everybody standing around for 30 minutes when the buses aren't there, they kind of stay in the room, you know, with the teachers until it's closer to the time for that next wave of buses to come. Those are the things that they'll hammer out based on their schedule at each school. And of course, we're taking any ideas that we can get. We're superintendents are still discussing and bouncing ideas off one another to try to make it as safe as we can.
Dr. Brinson, could you
Ma'am?
share with us the committee members that are responsible for this and what their roles are?
I don't have it in front of me, but Dr. Burgess, you want
Amy was doing the,
let me go through it right here. Obviously, Ray, David, and myself talked about transportation. Entering school buildings was Dr. Burgess. In transitions, and a lot of us served on some different ones. Randy and her crew, Samantha and all those ladies, Yvette, and all them worked on the serving meals part. They're going to be getting more guidance from, because they have those regulations, they have to meet with serving meals. That's not going away. So they got to wait on their state and federal guidance to fold into to doing that as well. The high school and admin staff handled the large group gatherings since they're going to get to test that out first with football games and graduation, and they already got extracurricular sports going on out there now with 50 head of folks. So they handled that. And let's see. Amy handled the support teaching and learning, instructional coaches, Dr. Burgess. Protecting vulnerable populations was mainly our SPED department handled that. A lot of that's and the is working with the nursing, Carl Armstrong as well, working with that part. Because we already have vulnerable populations that we work with now. We're trying hard just to replicate what we already do, where it's normal folks. We have hospital homebound already. Now, just because you have a COVID-related situation doesn't mean you're going to be hospital homebound. These type folks that are vulnerable, they're going to be getting a lot more service. We got to set up an individual distance learning plan for those folks. It's going to be a lot more because it's going to be so potentially long term. We got to teach those folks 100% distance learning. So we'll probably end up, compensating teachers to do it kind of like we do hospital homebound, since they'll be doing it pretty much every day. Those type students will also need a medical diagnosis, or doctors are right, anything, but we'll have to figure out exactly what they can, because it may be they can come to school after school for an hour, 2 hours, or they may, can do some things at school when there's not the crowd, when there's not 1,500 people at the high school. It may be that they can come up there at 3:30 and piggyback on some night school activities as well, instead of just totally sitting in front of the computer, not interacting with the human being and the teacher. We know that kids at any age, that's important to interact socially and emotionally with live people.
Do we not have the ability for them to be able to do that? Let's say if a teacher's kid has first block and the teacher uses Google Meet, and so the only thing that kid sees, so like if you have your laptop or whatever, the only person that kid sees is a teacher, but the teacher also can interact with that kid, and the kid is getting that lesson at the same time the other kids are getting that lesson as well.
We do have some platforms like that already, and you're right. And we are, we put that expectation out to all of our teachers before they left for the summer, that all teachers will be setting up a Google Classroom. Because some of them don't. Some of them are very good at it. They're professionals, and some of them learned it during this spring situation, but we decided it's going to be important to have, they got to know how to do it all the way through. So they're working on that. We're rolling out professional learning. Tech staff's already been, Brinson done a lot already during the time. So they got some good professional learning archive that they have access to. So we'll be a lot better. Yes, we'll be able to do some things just like that. So that, and again, it'll be on an individual basis. Kind of depends on what's going on with the kid, what their abilities are, and what their health issue is. But yeah, we do that with ELT. With our teachers at the high school. The high school kind of developed a plan a couple of years ago. They're really utilizing, where kids are out, they can access everything that was in class today. Some of it's videos, some of it's lessons. It's another platform. But we're going to be moving everybody to that Google Classroom concept where everybody's on the same page. Because we do have to do a mass out of school for a week, 14 days, 3 days or something. We're going to continue teaching. We're not going to do, we're past the, coming back in July with our employees now. This will be another thing that we'll talk more about, because we're kind of working through the legal part of it, is that when we come back in July, everybody's expected to come back to work. Now, if they got some kind of health-related situation, then they can certainly take leave. We have that in place now. They have sick leave, they can take family medical leave. Family medical leave has been expanded due to COVID-19. There's some criteria that go along with family medical leave that they can take, but it would be leave. Very few jobs are going to be where they can work, from home. If they can satisfactorily, that may be an option, depending on their health concern. But I don't know how a bus driver works from home. I don't know how a third grade teacher works from home with classroom students in there. There's some jobs that's just not going to lend itself to. So if we do, having said that, what we're talking about right now is if we do have we have to close down for a week. Well, students will be closed down, but we feel like our employees, teachers, support staff, and everyone can come to work. They don't need to be at home. They can come to work and go to their classroom or their workspace and work. So setting up that schedule for them to interact with their students currently, like the Google Classroom like we're talking about, and kind of fine tune that schedule where they're coming into work. And yes, their work day may look a little different. They may come in at whatever 8 o'clock and work till lunch, and then maybe they're working remotely from home the last couple of hours of their work day. But I think we want to expect everybody to come in and work virtually with their students. We're still going to have to have meals. The other support staff, bus drivers, parapros. I don't know how much support a parapro can really give, but we'll use them for other duties and responsibilities related to what we need in school. We still have to do meals. We have to clean. We have to. If they're going to continue to work for us, we're going to have to change what we're doing going forward. What we did in the spring is not going to be not the norm. So there'll be some pushback on that. But we can't continue doing that liability-wise, legal-wise. That's going to cause us problems.
Well, have we seen any progress with the connectivity issues?
I'm sorry?
Have we seen any progress with the connectivity issues yet?
Not really. I mean, we just got some places in our county that don't have internet service provider at all. We are now. As far as I should say that's true. But we've just purchased a large amount of Chromebooks. We've ordered hotspots. We've already ordered the hives that cover like the internet signal here.
Mm-hmm.
We've already ramped those up, added some more that you can sit right out here in this parking lot right now, and you got connectivity in this building right now. So we're doing some of that to prepare for if you don't have connectivity, you can go to the tech center parking lot with parents, set up camp now if you want to, but outside connectivity. We're pursuing, looking to see those remote places that we know might have a hard time, looking at getting the buses and maybe setting up a hotspot. We can drive the bus out there and look, you have connectivity from, whatever, 5 to 8 in the evenings, get some work done. Some of those type of things.
Mm-hmm.
We're preparing for it. We're ordering, we got to get the devices in, the infrastructure. We spent some money in our system infrastructure for our servers, storage, some backup things, just to kind of keep us up and running. That will be better, a lot better than we were prepared in the spring. We'll be a lot better prepared going into the fall. Now, like I said earlier, probably the first 2 weeks of school, we're going to be taking a lot of inventory to see who has a device, who has access. We know that some things really are not going to work real well on the phone. You can say the phone is a device. Some of the things that we're going to want to do probably not going to work real well on the phone. Some of them may. We've got a brand new iPhone 11, 12, 13, whatever they're on now. It may work. We know some cell phones are limited in capacity and ability. So we'll have a better plan. It probably won't be 100% foolproof, and we're going to have to. And that's what I'm saying. If we do have to shut down for a while, these other bus drivers, parapros, maybe that's what they do. But you know what? Okay, look, we got some folks in Kville or Gardi or Cherokee Lake or whatever. We got to make a run out there. We're dropping off lunches, and we're also dropping off some paper packets, information from the teacher, because there's no internet in there at all. Those types of things to fill in our work for employees if we do have to have a long-term shutdown or a week or two. But we just can't afford to say, we're out, we're not doing any teaching and learning, or we can't be as, we did the best we could, but it was not as high quality as we're looking for going into next year. We got to get through this thing until there's a vaccine or there's an FDA-approved treatment.
Dr. One of the things I would like to, hopefully that Ms. Amy, Dr. Burgess, instructional coaches, and administration team can discuss this great. There were a lot of concerns. I received a lot of calls, and I had a lot of concerns myself as a parent. When you make your kids do the work that's required and how it's graded and how it's rated in school, I think we fell behind in that area for some kids. I mean, personally, too, mine, where they completed every assignment, and there are kids who didn't do any assignment. So the grading and how that's done has got to be worked on. It's gotta be discussed. We gotta do a better job.
Well, part of that, Nick, was because I fell in the same situation as a teacher, and I felt the same way you feel. But the school system's hands were tied because the state handed down and said that no grade can negatively impact a student. So if your child didn't do anything at all, what we had to do was go back and use their grade that they had at the end of third 9 weeks, third quarter. And so, I mean, that's just the way it was at this time. I'm sure that's not the way it's going to be going forward because we know what's going on, but that's why that was that way.
And I'm not saying that talking about the negative impact on any grade, because this what happened wasn't in any of our control. But when kids spend every day and put lots of hours into it, and they do the right work and the work is done right, then their points on what they receive should be a lot greater than what was given. And I'm just telling you, it's pretty devastating to know that you made your kid do work every single day, and they got 2-3 points on their grade. That's the concern that I have.
Here, a step further, parents told me that it's like pulling our teeth to get Johnny to do the work. The teacher told them they wasn't going to do it. That's what they should be, they're getting paid. So
Right.
our teachers are going to have to do that.
That's what I said. We got to have some conversations about it because I made my do some work and I saw it getting great. I was like, well, Jesus Christ, what would I make you do every day?
Yeah, right.
I come home fussing like you ain't did your work.
And see, that shouldn't have been told to the kids when, and it may not have been their teacher that told them, but some teacher may have told another kid and the kid told the other kid, you know what I'm saying? So, but we don't have to worry about it this
I think
time.
that's gonna take care of itself, because we're not moving forward with the plan that we're moving. That's what I'm saying. We're having school next year. Plan on starting August 10th. Now, may some of it end up being distance learning? Yes, but that's what I'm saying. The teachers gonna come to school. The teachers teaching and learning this, virtually, and John needs to get his work done, or I'm gonna get the credit. So I think we can apply.
Specifics, but then here it's some guidelines saying that they will grade so much.
They will.
per
They will.
week, that type of stuff.
I don't think that'd be a big issue.
Like a ball game, it's fluid and we have to adjust sometimes.
Surplus items.
Yes, sir. We just have, 2, old lawn, equipment that really are not working. We just want to surplus them for when we tear them apart for parts. That's a Reelmaster 5500 and a Batwing, like a lawnmower type.
Motion for that?
Yes, sir.
So move. Have surplus.
Need a second? Yes, ma'am.
Mr.
Harris.
Yes, ma'am.
Steve.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, now Mr. Aldridge has the May financial report ready for us.
Over on page 1 of that report, you'll be able to see the bank balance. As of May 31st was $3,827,582.84. And then in the savings account, we had $10,183,153.12. That account's still going up. We actually have still not transferred any money out of that account over the last couple of months. So we're trying to keep that money in there as long as we can. We know that it's coming, but as long as it sits in that account, it draws a little better interest, which helps us out in the long run. Over on page 2, this is the balance sheet for the month of May. Fund balance is still holding strong. We're at $14,872,313.60 at May 31st. And obviously, we've got the month of June to go. We've got some accruals to make, but we're getting pretty close to the end of the fiscal year, and the fund balance is still holding pretty strong in there. Over on page 3, That is the revenue. You'll see the current revenue for the month of May was $3,368,246.57. And the year-to-date revenues in the general fund is $42,436,723.22. Over on pages 4 through 9.
Mr. Aldridge,
Yes, sir.
help me understand on page 3,
Yes, sir.
item 3140, local 5 meals. All the negatives, help me understand that.
All right, I might have to get Dr. Brinson to make sure I'm exactly sure how that works, because I get a little confused on that particular one. It's, all of that is what we call under the QBE umbrella. It's designated by the state. So, you know, you got your normal line items up there, your 3120s, and your 3122s. That's all based on FTEs in your school system and how much money you're allotted and all that. The local 5 meals, if I'm right, that has to do with our tax digest, right?
Yeah, let me give you the J version. I used to, tell Tony, that's Tony math. I need to do J math. It's 5. If you'll notice on our allotment sheet, there's a local 5 meal fair share. And what they're saying is, state's saying, look, we expect every local school system or communities to support their local education 5 meals. Okay, that's the fair share. So you do the math on our current, whatever our digest is, whatever a meal's worth, and of course that changes year to year, depends on what the digest is. They'll take that figure 5 times 5, and that's the amount that they take off of our QBE. So it's showing up negatives because you get your QBE allotment, and then they're going to back off. They just subtract your 5 meal share out of it, and that's what they send you every month. So that's just the line item to show that amount.
Right. When the actual deposit comes, it's one amount, but they send us a printout about this long, and it's like, revenue, and they tell us how much that goes into that negative account each time.
Okay.
And so it's all formulated by the state, though. Is the way that's calculated.
And our meal value runs, it runs anywhere. I've seen from $550,000 a meal to $750,000 a meal. So do the quick math in there, multiply times 5, you can come up with that bottom line number there.
Okay.
Pages 4 through 9 are our current expenditures for the month. If you actually go all the way to page 9, you will actually see the numbers that I'm going to talk about. The current month expenditures for May was $3,622,741.99, and the year-to-date expenditures is $38,112,082.28. So obviously you can see revenue versus expenditures. We have more revenue so far year-to-date than we do expenditures. Over on pages 10 and 11, one of the big items that we have been really trying to keep an eye on is sales tax. The month of May sales tax was $333,181.55, which is still very strong so far. That puts us still in a good place. And that gives us our year-to-date sales tax revenue is $3,283,589.03. That is something we really want to continue to watch. Obviously, that revenue is what gets used to pay the bonds back. So that as long as that money stays strong, that allows us that money to continue to pay those bonds. It is at a good point right now. We hope that continues. Over on pages 12 and 13, this is federal funds in the pre-K. If you look on there, most of those numbers are going to show up as negative. The reason for that is it's a reimbursable basis. So we've got to spend money before we can request money to get back before they'll pay it. If we were to request the money before we spend it, that gets us in trouble. So it's always we have to spend it, and we got it documented, then we can request the money back. And in fact, I just requested some last week, so we'll have some actually coming in Thursday. And those, so when we go to do June, you'll see how those numbers will change. Over on page 14, this is school food service. They made in the month of May $161,149.31 profit, and their year-to-date profit is now $445,533.69. This is ahead of pace for them. They are normally pretty close to about a break even until they get to summertime, and that's normally when they generate their more revenue. But because technically school was closed down, they were feeding more meals, so their expenses were less, but their revenue actually generated more. So they're actually in very good shape. Over on page 15 of that report, you will actually see some school food service expenditures. It's a little bit more detailed, so you can kind of see what the items were that they were buying during that month in the school food service section. And then over on pages 16 and 17 are our budget amendments. There are none in red, so we did not have any budget amendments for the month of May where we had to make any changes to the budget. Are there any more questions about the May report?
Yep.
Motion for approval.
Move.
Second. Second.
Mr. Ellis?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Dykes?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Harris?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Davis?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, then the last item, last but certainly not least, is the final approval for the FY21 budget. Of course, they're still in session, still hearing some good things. Right now, the way the budget stands, they're still looking to fully fund equalization. That's that big grant we talked about. So that's great news. Hopefully that stays true. Our representative Blake Taylor, I can't say enough about him. His work is being just thrown in the fire as a new appropriations chair on the Senate side, trying to balance a whole state budget during all this going on and still, be fair to the K-12 education. So we're, that 14% cut is, we're hearing it maybe all the way down to 10. So that's positive. But there's been no changes since, we discussed this budget before. We still think it's for our situation with a healthy fund balance that we can go ahead and approve a budget. And if we feel like we get some real exciting news and we need to adjust the budget next month, we can do that with an amendment. We have the option to do that every month. Like I just said, we didn't have any budget amendments this month. So if we get some surprise or get some hard numbers, there's always some things. Like I said, that equalization grant is big for Wayne County, but it's also a very fluid amount. You can never just count on it. We know we're going to get $5 million. That's not how it works. So we'll watch that closely. But it's great here it's not being cut at this time. So, any questions for that? Otherwise, it's up for.
Is that because they put that money back in the budget?
Ma'am?
Is that because they put that money back in the budget?
They moved some money around in the budget, yes, ma'am, and said they're not going to mess with equalization grant because initially the governor said we're going to cut grants and agencies.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a grant within our agency. So we're kind of getting double cut, but they decided not to do that. Where it come from exactly, I don't know about that part. But it's being fully funded as it stands now. Of course, the House, they still got to do their political sparring and all that stuff they do in Atlanta. So I feel good about it. I'll also share on a side note, well, I'll hold that to the end.
So we're still projecting almost 13 million this time next year. Fund balance.
No, that's our capital project.
That's capital projects. The first one would be the general fund. That's going to be your main concern.
Oh, okay.
We're projecting, we'll go into next year with a $14 million budget to start with, that we would still be slightly over $8 million with this budgeted projections.
And that's,
Things go well, we might be in better shape than that.
if you mind, that's worst case scenario. That's if we end this fiscal year with a $14 million balance. So we'll know that here coming up shortly. So anything above 14 million, we're already to the good. As far as starting off, we're still getting this good news from the state. So I think that's going to pan out for us too. And don't forget that we have never budgeted any kind of flipper revenue in our budget, whatsoever. That appears, I hate to knock on wood, but that appears that we've gotten over that hump and that money is starting to come to us in a in an annual, and I'm sure it will be delayed due to this situation. But it seems to be flowing now on an annual basis. Before that was not the case. It was 3, 4, 5 years before we see any money. So that's, I think we got over $1 million. I want to say we got over $1 million last year. Check. That's a substantial amount of money, but we don't budget, so that's unbudgeted potential revenue. Good thing.
Need a motion to accept it.
Yes, sir, I would love one.
Motion to accept the budget presented by the superintendent.
Second.
So,
Move in second.
Mr. Ellis.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Davidson.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Harris.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Daniels.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. McDaniel.
yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
We'll move into executive session to discuss or deliberate upon the appointment, employment, compensation, hiring, disciplinary action, or dismissal, or the peer evaluation of a public officer or interview applicants for the position of superintendent. Have a motion for executive session.
Second.
Move in second.
Mr. Ellis.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Davidson.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Harris.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Daniels.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. McDaniel.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, what's it?
Joe, you want to race?
Yeah.
I can't, they said you get too fast.
So switch your file, that's where it's 25646.